All right, so let's cut the crap.
Right.
Everyone and their fucking dog has an opinion on Trump, but how many of you asshands have actually, dug into what his economic policies actually did?
Yeah.
We're about to deep dive into that shitstorm.
Yeah.
And trust me, it's going to be a wild fucking ride.
It's certainly a fascinating period to examine, full of complexities and contradictions, for sure.
Fucking A, right? So we're going deep into this Wikipedia article, right, on Trump's first-term economic policies.
Okay.
It's dense as hell, but, chock full of juicy stats and controversies.
Yeah.
Get ready to have your mind blown, okay? Because we're about to uncover some shit you probably didn't know.
Uh-huh.
Whether you loved or hated the guy.
Lots to unpack.
Yeah, tons to unpack.
Yeah.
So first up, let's talk about those infamous tax cuts.
Right.
Trump slashed corporate tax rates from 35% to 21%. Sounds fucking awesome, right?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want a big-ass tax cut?
Well, it depends on who you are, right?
Yep.
While that 21% sounds great on paper, the effective corporate tax rate, what corporations actually paid, was a measly 11.3%.
Oh, wow.
That's the lowest it's been in 40 years.
Wait, so these fuckers were paying less than half of what they were supposed to? What the fuck? Sounds like some shady-ass loopholes to me.
There were certainly criticisms about the way the tax cuts are structured, and it's important to remember that individual tax cuts were unevenly distributed as well. The Tax Policy Center analysis showed that the top 1% received an average tax cut of over $51,000, while the bottom quintiles saw much smaller benefits.
Hold the fucking phone. You're telling me the richest assholes got the biggest fucking slice of the pie while the rest of us got crumbs? That's some classic bullshit right there.
The distribution of tax benefits is a complex issue, and there are different perspectives on what constitutes a fair system. But it's clear that the Trump tax cuts did exacerbate income inequality.
No shit, Sherlock. Okay, let's move on to healthcare, specifically Obamacare.
Right.
Trump spent his entire presidency trying to dismantle that shit, right?
Yeah. He certainly took steps to weaken the Affordable Care Act, even though he never managed to fully repeal it. He reduced advertising for enrollment, shortened the enrollment period, and stopped cost-sharing subsidies, all of which made it more difficult for people to access affordable health care.
So basically death by 1,000 cuts, right?
Yeah.
Did that shit actually work?
Well, the consequences were undeniable. Millions more Americans ended up uninsured, and health insurance premiums skyrocketed for many.
So basically he fucked over millions of people just to spite Obama. What a petty piece of shit.
Whether his actions were motivated by political strategy or a genuine desire to reform healthcare is a matter of debate, but the impact on ordinary Americans was significant.
Yeah, no shit.
Right.
All right, let's talk about something else that pissed off a lot of people.
Okay.
Those fucking trade wars. Remember all that talk about China stealing American jobs?
Yeah.
Trump slapped these huge-ass tariffs on Chinese goods, which basically started a global trade war.
Yeah.
Did anyone actually win that shit?
It's hard to say anyone truly won the trade war. While it did put pressure on China, it also resulted in higher prices for American businesses and consumers who ultimately ended up footing the bill.
Wait, so we were the ones who got screwed over? What a fucking surprise.
The tariffs created a ripple effect throughout the economy, impacting various sectors. One group that was particularly hard hit was American farmers.
Ah, those forgotten men and women that Trump pretended to care about.
Yes, they were slammed by retaliatory tariffs from China, which drastically reduced their exports. It got so bad that the government had to bail them out to the tune of $28 billion.
So much for China paying for it, huh? What a load of bullshit. It's like he was deliberately trying to sabotage his own supporters.
A trade war had a complex and multifaceted impact on the economy with both winners and losers.
Speaking of winners and losers, let's talk about the overall economy under Trump.
Okay.
He wouldn't shut the fuck up about how great the economy was doing, right?
Yeah.
Was it all just bullshit, or was there some truth to his claims?
Well, it's important to note that Trump inherited a relatively strong economy from Obama. Unemployment was already trending downward, and the stock market was on the rise.
Okay.
Those trends continued during his presidency. However, real wage growth remained sluggish, meaning that most people didn't see a significant increase in their purchasing power.
So the rich were getting richer, but the rest of us were stuck in the same goddamn rut.
Essentially. And the trade war contributed to a great deal of economic uncertainty, which dampened investment and growth.
So the greatest economy ever was just another one of his fucking lies.
While some economic indicators were positive, like low unemployment and a booming stock market, those gains were not evenly distributed, and the long-term impact of his policies, particularly the massive increase in national debt, is still being debated.
Okay, let's talk about that debt. Didn't Trump promise to eliminate the national debt during his campaign?
He did make that promise.
What the fuck happened there?
However, the reality was quite different. Under his administration, the federal budget deficit increased by almost 50%.
Are you fucking kidding me? This asshole promised to eliminate the debt and then proceeded to balloon it to record levels.
Yeah.
What a hypocritical fuck.
His tax cuts, combined with increased spending in areas like defense, led to a significant increase in government borrowing. Yeah, the national debt is a complex issue with far-reaching implications, and it's something we'll need to grapple with for years to come.
Yeah, well, thanks for that, Captain Obvious.
Yeah.
But, like, seriously, how the fuck did we let this asshat get away with such blatant hypocrisy? It's like he was living in some alternate reality where facts don't fucking matter.
It's true that Trump often employed, a populist rhetoric that appealed to emotion rather than relying on objective data.
Yeah, make America great again, my ass. More like make America bankrupt again.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about something else that Trump was obsessed with.
Okay.
Manufacturing.
Right.
Remember all those promises about bringing back factory jobs?
Yeah.
Did any of that shit actually happen? Manufacturing employment did experience some growth under Trump, but it's difficult to say how much of that was directly attributable to his policies. The trend of manufacturing job growth actually began under Obama.
So he was just taking credit for something that was already happening.
Yeah.
Shocker.
And it's important to remember that automation is a major factor in the decline of manufacturing employment. That's a global trend that's not going away, regardless of trade deals or tariffs.
So even if Trump hadn't started a trade war with China, those jobs probably wouldn't have come back anyway.
It's highly likely that automation would have continued to displace manufacturing workers regardless of trade policies.
So, another empty promise from the great con man himself.
Yeah.
Color me surprised. But hey, at least the stock market was doing great, right?
Yeah.
Trump wouldn't shut the fuck up about how the Dow was hitting record highs.
Yeah.
But wasn't that just benefiting the rich assholes who actually own stocks?
That's a valid point. While a rising stock market can be a sign of economic growth, it doesn't necessarily translate into tangible benefits for ordinary Americans. The majority of stocks are held by the wealthy, so they reap most of the rewards.
So basically, it was just another way for Trump to jerk off his rich buddies while the rest of us got screwed.
It's fair to say that the benefits of the stock market boom were not evenly distributed.
No shit. Okay, let's talk about one last thing before we wrap this up.
Okay.
Immigration. Trump was obsessed with building a wall and cracking down on immigrants. Did any of that actually have an economic impact?
It's difficult to isolate the specific economic effects of his immigration policies, but there's no doubt that they had a significant impact. One of the key things he did was restrict legal immigration, making it harder for people to come to the United States to work and live.
But didn't he say that immigrants were stealing American jobs? Wasn't that his whole justification for that bullshit wall?
That's a common misconception that's often used to justify anti-immigration policies. In reality, studies have shown that immigrants actually create jobs and contribute to economic growth. They fill labor shortages, start businesses, and pay taxes.
So basically, Trump's entire anti-immigration crusade was based on a lie. What a fucking surprise. It's like he was deliberately trying to make America worse, not better.
It's clear that his immigration policies were highly controversial and had a significant impact on both the economy and American society as a whole.
All right, I think we've covered enough ground for one episode. What's the bottom line here? What should our listeners take away from all this economic mayhem?
I think the key takeaway is that economic policy is complex and there are no easy answers. Trump's policies had both positive and negative consequences, and the long-term effects are still being debated. It's crucial to be informed, critical, and engaged in the political process so we can hold our leaders accountable and demand policies that benefit all Americans.
Yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but it doesn't change the fact that we just spent the last hour dissecting the economic shit show that was the Trump administration. It's enough to make you want to give up on politics altogether.
I understand your frustration. It can be disheartening to witness policies that seem to prioritize short-term gains over long-term sustainability. However, it's important to remember that we as citizens have the power to influence the direction of our country. By staying informed, engaging in thoughtful debate, and holding our elected officials accountable, we can work towards creating a more equitable and prosperous society.
All right, I get it. We can't just bury our heads in the sand and pretend that this shit didn't happen. We have to learn from our mistakes and demand better from our leaders. And that's the real takeaway from this deep dive. So to all you asshats out there listening, don't just sit on your asses and bitch about the state of the world. Get informed, get involved, and make your voices heard.
Well said. It's time to move beyond the rhetoric and engage in constructive dialogue about how to create a future that works for everyone.
And on that note, we're out of here. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. If you want to learn more about this clusterfuck, you can find the full Wikipedia article online. Be warned, it's a long one, but hey, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Right. All right, so we've spent this whole fucking episode, shitting on Trump's economic policies. But let's be real today. Were there any bright spots? I mean, did he do anything right?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, unemployment did continue to decline under his watch.
Okay.
And the stock market, while not necessarily a reflection of the average person's economic well-being, did reach record highs.
Sure.
Some argue that his deregulation efforts helped boost business confidence and investment.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't a complete and utter disaster, but you got to admit, the dude was a walking contradiction.
Right.
He claimed to be a champion of the working class, but his policies often seemed to benefit, the wealthy elite.
Yeah.
He promised to drain the swamp, but his administration was riddled with corruption scandals. It's like he was deliberately trying to fuck things up.
It's true that his rhetoric often clashed with his actions.
Yeah.
And his unconventional approach to governance certainly ruffled a lot of feathers.
Ruffled feathers. He practically set the whole goddamn bird on fire.
Well,
But hey, maybe that was his intention all along. Maybe he was just trolling the entire country, seeing how much bullshit he could get away with.
it's impossible to know what his true motivations were, but there's no doubt that his presidency had a profound impact on American politics and society.
Yeah, no shit. He basically ripped the country apart and exposed just how divided we really are.
His presidency certainly exacerbated existing political and social divisions, and the long-term consequences of that polarization are still unfolding.
Wow, that's a cheery fucking thought. So what's the lesson here? Are we doomed to repeat this cycle of division and dysfunction?
Not necessarily. I think it's important to learn from the mistakes of the past and strive for a more civil and constructive political discourse.
Yeah.
We need to find ways to bridge the divides that separate us and work towards common goals.
Easier said than done, my friend. But hey, at least we can try, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's the most important takeaway from this deep dive. We can't just sit back and let the cynics and the demagogues dictate the future.
Right.
We need to engage, we need to challenge, and we need to demand better.
Well said.
Mm.
And on that note, let's wrap this shit up.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Yeah.
If you want to, delve deeper into the dumpster fire that was the Trump economy, check out the full Wikipedia article. It's a long one, but trust me, it's a wild fucking ride.
Knowledge is power, as they say. And the more we understand about the past, the better equipped we are to shape the future.
And with that, we're out of here. Peace out, asshats.